Welcome to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Xolo, the operating system of the solo economy. Every week we'll be serving up an audio cocktail of expert tips, inspired insights, and stories from the frontiers of freelancing to help you grow your borderless business to new heights and live life on your own terms. So kick back, grab a snack, and let's get started. For today's episode, we bring you another one of those how to do things interviews, which are always really popular with listeners from the feedback we receive, because it means we talk to someone who's been there and done it as a solopreneur and is now generously sharing what they've learned with you so you can do it too. Our guest, Matt Stait, has been and done a lot of different things, including building a unique career around martial arts and content creation. So he's got lots of great stories to tell. But today we focus on something I know you want to learn more about. I wanted to learn more about it, and that is the mysterious realm of TikTok. Now, Matt is a hugely successful publisher on multiple social platforms, and his martial arts videos on TikTok drive steady traffic to his Modern Samurai site for sales of his books and training courses. He's a self-taught black belt in online marketing generally and helps other businesses with community building and social selling through his training and consultancy. But today he generously shares a raft of insights into what makes TikTok tick and how you can get started. So if you've been wondering what all the fuss is about, whether it's too late to get started or whether you have to be a lip-syncing teenager doing funny dances to get on board, then you'll want to listen up. And spoiler alert, no it's not and no you don't. So come on into the dojo and learn from the master. So hi Matt, it's great to have you here at The Future Is Freelance. Thanks very much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, we like to start with the same question for everybody because freelancing is such a fascinating, unique and individual journey. Please tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do and how did you get to be doing whatever that is?
There's a short version and there's a long version. So I'll do the short version and then we'll go from there. So basically I left school with no qualifications or anything like that and bumbled around working on building sites, that sort of thing. But then I started working on the door, started doing martial arts, and everything sort of expanded out from that. Since that point, I've got a full-time martial arts gym. I got lots of online courses and things like that. I've written a number of books. I regularly sort of write blogs, articles, that sort of thing. And I run a social media consultancy teaching people how to use the platform TikTok and now across the board with the introduction of Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts and things like that. The short form media format has now become the most popular form of communication on social media. And so that's what I help businesses with now.
Fantastic. Well, I know this is going to be really interesting for our listeners, and there's quite a lot to unpack there. So you've got basically a face-to-face physical business where you provide a service, but you've also created a whole social, educational ecosystem around that by the side of things. Was that your intention from the start, or did that grow organically? What happened there?
Well, some of it was intentional, but most of it was just happenstance and just a series of events that one took after another. As a lot of people, I'm sure, will recognise that in themselves and their own journeys. It's very rare that we wake up with a set vision and then we follow those steps and it follows a linear path. It all kind of wanders around, doesn't it? So, yeah, the physical space is what created the need to understand marketing and social media and how to present myself and how to draw clients towards me, all that sort of thing. So it became a necessity for my business for me to learn how to do that. So as somebody that had no formal education, it was like, well, right, what do I need to do? So I joined various mentorship groups. I became part of a number of different business sort of groups. I went off and did a master's degree. I'm now looking at PhD study. So it was a case of, well, first, obviously I needed to educate myself. And so that was the reason for starting that, was the physical business. But then once I started interacting with that and using that and exploring that, it's like this really strange alchemy that became something all of its own that I really enjoyed learning about and making work. And so that's taken off on its own little tangent now.
Brilliant. Well, that's the solopreneur life, isn't it? I think straight line careers are for people with jobs in banks or something. That's not how we do it. These squiggly paths emerge for us. So whereabouts is your gym based? Where is your physical business?
Well, the premises itself is in South Wales. And it's been there now for well over a decade, all through the past few years, and the troubles with that and everything. But luckily for me, before the world did what it did, I'd already written a number of books, including one around online learning and how that was going to impact and that sort of thing. But then I'd also started doing online courses, and I had a number of membership sites and standalone courses and things in and around that, and I needed to promote them, which is where I started looking at TikTok. So all of this had been embedded and done and started and framed out before we went into the global sort of situation that we went into. So unlike a lot of other people who had to have this knee-jerk reaction and suddenly learn as they went, luckily for me, I was a little bit in front on that because I'd been doing it already for quite a while.
Yes, that sounds really important in terms of your journey. And obviously the kind of skills that you're teaching, martial arts, is extremely physical. Ideally, one does that face-to-face in a dojo, but certainly in 2020 that couldn't happen. And you can only do that with the people directly in front of you or within a near radius. So clearly video makes absolute sense for you. So you were doing video before TikTok then? Were you creating video for online courses, presumably?
Yeah, well, that's where the sort of TikTok took shape, was because I had a product that could be sold globally. I had a client base that could be accessed globally, and I needed a platform to speak globally. And looking at the various platforms and what was what, and listening to a few people, it turned out that in that particular moment in time, TikTok was a very new and exciting place there was a huge opportunity for growth that so many people didn't understand back then. So like with a lot of things that I do, I'm not one of these people that can just sort of dip a toe in a little bit. I'm either in 110% or I'm not doing it at all. So I became maniacal about it, I think is a good word. I researched it for months. I went crazy looking into every aspect of it before I did a single thing on the platform. So by the time that I did, I had a pretty reasonable handle, and it didn't take me long to grow hundreds of thousands of followers, views in the absolute millions on various videos, and to start creating funnels and pipelines of people that were interested in the things that I was doing. So it wasn't just a vanity follower count, because that's not actually the important number. The important number is the people that are going to follow through and actually become paying clients and people that you can work with.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you then, it was completely part of your top level sales funnel to create content to attract people, the right qualified traffic to products and offers that you already had. So that's your books and your courses, presumably?
Yeah, it was an identified strategy and a very, very interesting route into that in regards to when you look at, say, some of the other platforms at the time, there was a lot of restrictions on organic growth. It was kind of hard in a lot of ways sometimes, and there was a lot of effort put into people paying for reach, paying for views, paying to be seen. And I thought, well, that's all great, but there's got to be another way. And so looking at it, it was a case of, well, actually, if you look at it more like a partnership, and this is where I think it starts to get quite interesting. If you look at social media as a partnership, it doesn't matter which platform you choose, find out what it is that they want and then give it to them, and they will do the legwork. They'll do all the heavy lifting. So in the case of right now today, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, they're great examples of ways that you can put content out there and it will be promoted by the platform itself because they want people to engage with that. So they'll promote that, they'll push that, they'll put that out there. If you think about paying for Facebook advertising at the moment, cost per click on things and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, okay, well, I'm aware there's a cost involved. I've literally just built over on Facebook, just from a standing start, using repurposed TikTok content over a couple of years old. I've built a following of over 12,000 people growing daily,
Right.
with, again, views in the millions on various videos. I've literally put no effort into that whatsoever. It's repurposed content, seconds out of my day. It was done as an amusement, and the point of that is, again, it's that funnel, it's that pipeline. Every day, my inbox is people coming in who I've not had any contact with before, that are interested in what I'm doing and what I can, how I can help them. So it's a fantastic start point. It really is.
Brilliant. So it's a completely different audience then to Facebook. The people that you were getting through the TikTok traffic originally, who are they? I mean, who is using TikTok? Who should be using it? Give us a clue how to get started here, Matt, because I've had a look, I've had a dabble, and hands up, no idea, really.
Yeah, well, this is one of the issues when people start, because there's generally three routes into TikTok if we're talking TikTok specific. So the one is you borrow a phone off a teenage relative and you open it up and you look at it and you're like, oh, and it's just craziness coming out at you. Mm-hmm. The second version is that you open it up and you look at it yourself as a brand new user, and again, craziness is coming out at you. Or thirdly, you set it up with the idea of using it as a tool for your business, but again, craziness is coming out at you. So in any format of that, you're greeted with this craziness, but it's not craziness once you understand what it's doing.
Okay.
Essentially, TikTok is, imagine meeting a really excitable person at a party that's desperate to be your friend, but doesn't quite know how. And so they're just spurting out all of these things constantly. That's very much what TikTok is like, and that's what it's doing. It's the algorithms are incredibly advanced. It doesn't take long for it to figure you out, but what it needs to do is figure you out. Once it's done that, it settles down, and it's very, very, very clever. But it takes a couple of days. Now, there are lots of things you can do to help that. There are lots of things you can do to teach TikTok what it is that you want from it, and it will very quickly do that for you. But initially, for the first part of it, it does seem like just a level of craziness that is, especially for people of my age, kind of thing, because we're not kind of used to that. But
no, that's not our environment, is it? Because neither of us seem to be teenagers, let's face it. And I've just found that For You page is, to me, is just a baffling stream of noise and strangeness at the moment. So how could I make that more meaningful, just in terms of being a content consumer? How do I tame that chaos?
Okay, well, your For You page will look completely different to mine, right? Mine has been trained. So I like a lot of nature things. I like a lot of science. I like a lot of literature. I like a lot of, obviously, martial arts, because I've mentioned that. I like a lot of, so art, those kind of things are the things that I get presented with because I've shown TikTok that that's what I like. So you can do that really simply just by, scrolling through what you do like, watching what you do like, rather, scrolling through what you don't. You can even tell them that you don't like particular things. You can do specific hashtag searches for things to speed that process up. And so what you actually want to do, if we're looking at it from a business point of view, is we want to make TikTok aware of what our profile is and the things that we're interested in and what we align with. And then that will help it then to not only give us the information that we want and the content that we'd like to consume, but it also helps for it to share what we're doing to the right people and the people that we align with as well. So it's a two-way street, and it only takes a couple of days to do. It's not particularly complicated, but what is interesting is that because it's so sophisticated, in instances, it seems to know a little bit more about us than we do in regards to what it is we actually do want to see. And it will give us that in a few short days. And so when you start looking at it and you start following it through a couple of days in, and suddenly you'll start getting presented with things that are far more, in your wheelhouse, if you like. And then it's a different world. It's a completely different world because it's layered. There's a huge raft of education on there at the moment. There's a huge raft of expert people on there at the moment. There's a heck of a lot of people on there talking about very grown-up subjects. It's not full of 12-year-olds anymore. It's really not.
Okay, so I need to spend a little bit of time then in that For You page So if something's right for me, I use the like button, give it a love. Is that what I should be doing, or just flicking straight off it if it's nothing interesting me?
Yeah, exactly that. That's the simplistic way. It also asks for your suggestions as to things that you're interested in. So you could put in various hashtag sort of monikers. So if you're into nature, you could put nature. If you're into art, you put art, so on and so forth. And you could give them a little helping hand there. But the easiest way is just scroll straight past what you don't like, engage with what you do.
Excellent. Okay. And just to be clear, if somebody's listening to this and they want to set up TikTok ultimately to promote their business, should they be doing this content curation with that in mind and thinking about things which align to the content that they want to create? Or can you go more broad and in terms of your personal interests? What should you be optimizing for at this point?
Well, you can go broad. However, for my personal experience and the clients that I work with, I find you get a quicker result and a better result by honing in on the type of things that are relevant to what you're doing, because that's that alignment that we're seeking, so that it's getting sent to the right people. The way that TikTok works overall, they've never openly said this, but there's been enough people now looking into this to have a pretty good idea. And so the way that it works is it basically goes out in circles, and depending on the level of interaction will depend how much it gets shared. And so what you'll find for the people that are watching, if you have a TikTok account and it's in the low hundreds with regards to followers and views are in the thousands, TikTok has pretty much already, by the sounds of it, decided where you sit within their ecosystem, and they've decided that you're not worth sharing that much because you're not getting the interaction, right? So what we need to do is be very specific with our targeting when we put content out so that it reaches the right people, and those people then engage, which tells TikTok it's interesting, and then they'll share it to more people. Now, the more that happens, the more often that happens, the more trust is built, just the same with any relationship. And eventually, then you get to a position where your content is being pushed out much further, much faster, much quicker, because there's that trust that's been built that you're going to be giving the content that you say you will.
Right. Okay. So that leads us into the other side of TikTok then as a content creator. Where should people be starting with that? And obviously they can follow the instructions, how to set up an account and things like that. But then after that, what do you do?
Well, what I would suggest, and when I'm working through the programs that I do, and I say this now for all of the different mediums, it's not just TikTok specific. What I say is actually have a look, and we do a little task called Find 50, Search 50. And what that basically means is you scroll through TikTok and you find 50 people or 50 accounts that you like, that you resonate with, that are in your field, if it's from a business point of view. And then you assess their content. You see what they're doing well. You see what they're doing not so well. You see what you can take from that, what you can do better. And it's not plagiarism. It's not stealing in that regards, because we all do things in a slightly different way. So, I may not be the best, whatever it is, but I'm the best version of me doing that. So and people resonate with different characters and different people as well. So the kind of people that would like me may not like somebody else doing exactly the same content, and vice versa. So there's that personality and everything that goes with it. So find 50 people, write down a little checklist, all they're doing good, all they're doing, what you think isn't so good, what you can do better, what ideas you can take from that, and then hashtag 50 as well. So what you're looking for there is to write down 50 keywords within your niche, and it's not as challenging as it first sounds. And then search those hashtags. Now, this is a process that I do with my clients before they put a single video out in the world, right? It's all about doing the homework, getting the work done first, because the moment that you put content out, TikTok is deciding where you sit in their universe. They're deciding whether or not you're a good creator. They're deciding whether or not you should be shared. And so if it takes you 50 videos to find your metaphorical feet, then you've already been assessed as to where you live in that ecosystem. Whereas if you do the work first, you do the homework first, you get a good strategy in place first, you manage how you're going to present yourself and the content you're going to deliver, and you've established your avatars of the people that you want to speak to, all that being done first, the content's actually really, really easy. Right? That's the easy bit.
Uh-huh. I believe you. Okay, so just backing up a second then, asking for a friend, if somebody has already gone off and started putting content out without doing the homework that you clearly do with your clients or following your recommendations from a few minutes ago, what would you say? Start over with a fresh profile and account?
That would depend on the profile itself and the person. In a lot of occasions, yes, just write it off, start again,
Mm-hmm.
because it's much easier to go from a standing start than it is to push uphill. And
Yeah.
with a profile that's clearly not doing what it should, then that's what you're doing. You are pushing uphill. Because again, if you take it as a relationship and you take it as a personal relationship, so if you've met somebody that is tedious, boring, you can't be bothered to be around, you don't really like very much, right? They're going to have to work really, really hard to get you to change your mind at this point.
Yeah.
Much better,
Yeah.
start afresh. And that way, then the energy is being used in a more positive way. It's not that you can't breathe new life into an old account. It's just a bit more challenging. So it depends on how you do this. And again, this is why I say to people, businesses especially, really important not to just jump in with both feet. Really important to get the groundwork done, because if you have a brand, if you have a business persona, if you have something that is you, and that's how you set everything up, but then it fails, you're a bit stuck because you've just used all of that on an account that isn't really working well for you. So much better to set it all up first.
Yes, I can see that makes total sense. And obviously, we're going to put the links to your courses and your client work into the show notes for this, because I'm sure there'll be people listening who are still baffled by the DIY route and would like to do it with a higher level of support. But assuming somebody is just bravely going after this themselves, they've figured out 50 accounts, 50 hashtags and keywords, which to me sounds like even as a content creator, that sounds like a challenging exercise, but it's one that's going to make people stop and think, which is what you're trying to do. What's next after that then? You've got your empty account with no content on it, but you're following 50 people that you resonate with, and you've got some ideas about your hashtags. What's the next step?
Well, if we're looking about building the account itself, then the profile is really important. Your library of content is really important. Right. And again, when I talk to people, they'll put out a video, and it may be an absolute piece of genius. It may be the kind of video that goes viral and gets seen by the millions. However, their profile has nothing for people to come back to. Right. And so that's kind of really important as well. So the profile wants to be very specific in regards, it tells people what it is that you do, what it is you offer, and it tells people what they get. Just the same in everything else. The reality of the world we live in is, unfortunately, most people don't actually care about us. What they care about is what we can do for them. Mm-hmm. And so making sure our profile explains that in a way where it's very, very obvious and draws the right people towards us. And then the content itself, the videos themselves, there needs to be at least a few that gives people a reason to come back, that gives people a reason to think, actually, there's going to be more. This is good stuff. I'm really interested in this. This isn't just a one-hit wonder. I don't advocate the use of viral videos specifically, or the use of trending things specifically. They're all good for gaining a little bit of traction. But remember when I spoke about the vanity figures at the start, there's no point in having 1 million followers and forcing yourself to create 5 or 6 pieces of content every day if not a single one of those is going to result in a pound in your pocket or any kind of remuneration for that effort, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not me being cynical or mercenary. That's just a simple fact of life. We have to establish what's important to us. And so with that in mind, I would say, get your bio right, make sure it says the right things, get some really good pictures, again, that are representative. So your visuals across all the platforms should be representative, and they should be, there should be that sort of branding right across the board, right? So I should be able to flip through platforms and instantly recognize that it's you and your content and it's your brand, yeah?
Right. Okay.
Once we've got that, then I'd say make sure you get at least half a dozen good videos up, and I would choose some videos from the different areas of the content strategy. So for those that are aware, that are marketers, that are sort of big on that kind of thing, then there's a number of different types of content that you can have. I mean, I've got a list of 10. There are 7 specific ones that are for TikTok alone. And they're the basic ones that we use. It goes out much more than that, but those are the basic ones to make things easy. So you want something that's a rapport piece. You want something as a way to make friends, like an introduction, exactly as we said about the chap at the party. Why would you want to spend time coming to see me? What is it about me? How do we resonate, right? So finding that commonality, finding that common ground. So there'll be a piece for that. There'll be some educational pieces. There'll be some bits in there where I am showing you the value straight off the bat. Really important that we get that in there, that there's value being given right the way from the word go. And this is the mistake a lot of people make. I know I'm waffling a bit now, but I tend to go off on one. Once I get started, it's hard to stop.
That's fine. This is good stuff. Keep it coming.
One of the basic mistakes I see people make, especially people who are very good at what they do, right, is they don't showcase, they show off. Not good. Right. So what I mean by that is they make a piece of content going, woo, look at me, I'm super amazing, I'm doing this amazing thing, which is fantastic. And it's a skill set that's taken a lot of time to learn. And they're obviously very, very good at what they do. However, the people watching are like, well, what use is of that to me? Yeah. So the idea is to give people value. So show them something, teach them something, or use that showing off in a way which I call showcasing, which is actually saying, follow what I do, listen to the things that I'm saying or other people within my field are saying, and one day you can do this too. Maybe not today, but further down the line. Yeah. And that transitions really well into the physical space. If you take somebody, say, a juggler, right? So if you see a juggler doing really, really great juggling, you're like, wow, that's really, really clever, isn't it? But if I said to you, here are some juggling balls, have at it, you wouldn't have a clue, if you've never done it before, how to get from there to there. And there are all those steps in between. And these are just things that are great to have, because you can showcase a higher level skill for people that are good at what they do. You can showcase a very basic skill. So again, it's one of those, I was told a very long time ago, if you're teaching somebody to boil an egg and you don't tell them how to turn the oven on, they're going to sit there staring at a saucepan for a few hours wondering what they've done wrong. So what seems simple to us...
really basic then.
So what seems simple to us actually may not be simple to somebody else. And to put this in perspective, right? So as I mentioned, I do martial arts and things, right? Now, I did a video about making a fist, very, very simplistic, right? 1 million views later. I was very surprised by that, but it just gives you an idea of how much you can bring the level down and still gain traction from it, because there are lots of people in the world, including me, that has lots of questions, but quite often too embarrassed to ask because they don't want to look stupid.
Right.
That kind of thing. And these are, again, things where we resonate with people because we're making friends, we're building relationships, we're saying to people, I was that too once, I felt that way as well, and all those kind of things. And so what we're doing is we're building a relationship, and that's fundamentally really important. So we've got the bio, we've got some videos, and then it's all about communication and interaction, right? Vitally important. I can't believe the amount of people that put a video up and then never say another word.
Okay, so just to roll back a tiny bit, because
of course,
based on what you just said about turn the oven on first, if you missed that step. So if you've created a bunch of content, then can you schedule that? Should you post once a day? Should you post 10 times a day? When you're just building your account from scratch and getting started, what should be what's your typical time spent on TikTok?
Well, there's quite a few questions there, but let's start at the beginning and say, with regards to amount of content, I would say consistency is far more valuable than anything else. Remember, we're building trust, we're building relationships. So there's no point in going out of the gate full of vim and vigor and putting up 10 videos a day if 2 weeks from now it's all going to fall apart and then you're going to post one every other couple of days. That trust has been broken. So it's much better to say, well, actually, I can commit to 1 a day or 2 a day and then consistently do that. That's a much better way of going about it. So the recommendations for me, when we're doing the basic setup and we're working over a couple of months to build the profile, then we try and work to 4 pieces a day, 4 pieces of content.
Right.
Now, when people say, crikey, that seems like an awful lot, again, we've got to put it into perspective. A TikTok can be 10 to 15 seconds long, 30 seconds, So you're looking at 10 to 15 seconds. I wouldn't go above that in a new profile because, again, interaction, watchability, all these things are valuable. And if you can't get somebody to watch your video from start to finish for 10 seconds, you're not going to do it for 30 or a minute. So we want to keep it in that sort of pocket originally. Now, when we look at that and we think, okay, well, TikTok again is very, very clever. It's got its own editing suite. It's got all kinds of incredible things within it that it can do, which is one of the draws. So we're looking at 10 seconds to film the clip. We're looking at maybe 20, 30 seconds to edit it within the app, put a bit of text on it, maybe that sort of thing, trim it off either end. Doesn't have to be anything incredible, right? And then upload the thing. So less than a minute. So now you're thinking, okay, less than a minute for a day, that's less than 5 minutes of my day. So actually,
can't be as simple as that, right?
It is. That's the thing. It is as simple as that. That's the incredible thing about it. It actually is that simple. Once you've got the strategies and once you've got everything set up, and this takes me back to what I was saying earlier on about having everything prepared. If I've done my hashtag searches correctly, then I've got a huge amount of possibility for content. Now I take that content and then I put it against the content types that I mentioned earlier on. And then I take those types with all those bits of content in them, and then I put those into a timetable using the strategy that we talked about with regards to what I can manage per day. And then I can do several things. I can either just do them as I need them, or I can block film several of them and have them backed up, ready to go. There are things that you can use now that will post for you. However, the algorithms don't seem to like those so much still at the moment. So, but it's not a hard challenge just to post one up. So actually it is that simple once you get it sorted. It's no different to anything else. It really isn't. And that's fundamentally the key here. I see so many people getting themselves in a pickle because they're making it far harder than it needs to be. And it doesn't need to be that hard. It really doesn't.
So it's all about then the content leads people back to your profile, and that leads people into your sales funnel. Now, your profile, it's not very long, is it? What's the best way to use that really limited real estate wisely?
It's 80 characters.
Right.
So it's not a lot. And if you have a business account, then you can have a direct link outside of TikTok. So you can have that to your website or a shop or anything. And of course, with all the monetization strategies that TikTok is bringing in, there's lots more opportunity within the app now. However, there are gateways towards that. So you have to have 1,000 followers to go live. You need to have 10,000 for marketplace. 100,000 for marketplace and the creator fund and all that sort of thing. So obviously, because I joined when I did and because I built the way that I did, I've got access to all of those things. So the UK seller program, so I can sell directly from the app. So there's lots of opportunity there. But as a baseline, as a starting business, if you have a business account, you can have a live link on there that will take people to wherever it is that you want to send them.
Right.
Caveat on that. Well, you can use something like Linktree and have several links on that. But again, people are suggesting that they don't particularly like the platform. And so they, and again, it's all trial and error. It's all figuring out what works.
Yeah.
For me as well, I tend to find, I don't know about yourself, but for me as well, I tend to find the more choices you give people, the less likely they are to actually make a choice. So it's better just to say, this is where I want you to go over there, do that thing, and everyone's happy, rather than, choose A, B, C, D, E, F, or what have you. I find too many choices kind of throws people off a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it is all about the sales funnel and the call to action. Then if you know what you want them to do, then everything's optimized around that.
Yeah. But the caveat on that, and this is again something that I see people mistakenly do quite often, it's the clips are 10 to 15 seconds, but that doesn't make them an advert. Right. So it's, in the old days, we'd watch a television program and then there'd be this gap and there'd be adverts and we'd all go off and make a cup of tea. Remember those days?
Oh, yes. Surge on the national grid while everybody puts the kettle on.
Yes. don't make your TikTok profile like the adverts on the telly in the old days, right? And that's a really important point, because you don't want people thinking, oh, it's just an advert, I'm going to go make a cup of tea. You want people engaged. So it can't be like the old school adverts, buy my stuff, that kind of thing. It's got to be a bit more cleverer than that. People don't like being sold directly to in TikTok. But again, that's where the value comes in. If you give people a little bit of value and you show them what it is that you can do, then the people that are interested will automatically start coming towards you. And that's really where what this is for. That's really what this is about. It's not about hard sell at all. It's about relationship building. It's about building an ecosystem across the platforms where at the end of the day, this is where they start. Hello, my name's Matt. I'd like you to see what I do. And then eventually, hopefully, they'll track that through. They'll follow that through. And then one day we'll be sat in a room having a conversation about what it is that I actually really do.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like obviously you've been around the platform for a while now, and you've built up, so you have access to all these business tools and so on. But for anybody starting new, is it still time? It's not too late? Are we early enough? I mean, forget organic reach on Facebook for a business now, for example, but is TikTok still early enough that people could get started today and do what you've done?
In comparison to something like Instagram, then yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's no denying that it's slowed down somewhat as it was sort of 3 or 4 years ago, when it really was this sort of gold rush period. So it's not quite that now. However, there's still plenty of scope for growth. But what I say now to people is to actually sort of strategize it across the platforms. Because again, we talked about a 10-second clip. If that 10-second clip can be repurposed across YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, Instagram, and you can now have one little piece of content across most of the platforms, and a lot of the other platforms now will share it for you organically because they're desperately trying to pull you back away from TikTok. It's a great time at the moment. So the opportunity may not be what it quite was on TikTok. However, it's still there. But what happens now is the opportunity is now on YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, that kind of thing. And there are great opportunities there because what they've done over the past couple of years, they've watched the phenomenal rise of TikTok and the huge growth of TikTok. And it is huge. I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah. And they've watched that and they've seen that and they've panicked about that. And they've thought, well, we need to do something about that. So what they've basically done is created their own version of TikTok within their own platforms. And they're desperately trying to promote those. And remember what I said about the relationship thing earlier on, right? Well, if I give them what they want, they will do the heavy lifting for me. So I give them short form video and they send it out to the world and lots of people get to see it. And I haven't paid a single penny towards that. Everyone wins.
Right. Brilliant. Okay. That sounds like a really important lesson for people to take away from this, if nothing else, that this is about the whole strategy. TikTok might be the shiny thing that people feel they've got to get a handle on now or leave it till it's too late. But for you, it's clearly very much part of an overall strategy, seeing where it fits in and how that content can be repurposed and really work hard for you. Because as solopreneurs, we want everything to work hard for us, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And we want it to work as hard for us as it can with the minimal input and effort on our part as well. And I don't mean laziness. I mean, we want to work smart. And that's what I mean by that. And so that piece of content, if I can put that in a way where I can then put that out to all the different platforms and reach different audiences on each of those platforms, it's doing the most work for me. It's shouting the loudest. It's representing me and what I represent in the best way that it can. And bear in mind, as I just said a minute ago, 10 seconds to film it, 30 seconds to edit it, maybe a minute to upload it, maybe a couple of minutes to upload it to all the different channels.
That seems, it's not too much, is it, for people who want to grow their audience and promote their products and services? Matt, you've dropped a tremendous amount of knowledge in this call. It's been exceptionally useful, and there's lots for people to experiment with here off their own bat. But if they do want more, where can they find the additional support and coaching that you offer?
All the usual channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that sort of thing, TikTok, obviously. You can find me under Matt Stait. which is STAIT. You can go to my website, which is www.differentthink.co.uk. There's more information on there. Or if you want to actually see what I do in action with regards to that, then you can just Google Modern Samurai online and you will get various aspects of that in action doing its thing.
That's been so helpful, Matt. Thanks so much for sharing all of your experience and wisdom with the Future Is Freelance listeners. And maybe you'll be seeing some of us around on TikTok before too long.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much for having me on. I've enjoyed the chat.
You've been listening to the Future Is Freelance podcast, brought to you by Xolo.io, who offer compliance, taxation, invoicing, and admin solutions for fiercely independent solopreneurs across the globe. From simply getting paid to launching a full EU-based limited company, Xolo has you covered, thanks to Estonian e-residency and a superb suite of streamlined business software. If you enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and comment, and subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts.